No, we need to talk. 'Cause I don't know what this is, but you can tell me. Yeah.
Good afternoon. This is the Judiciary Non Civil Committee. We're here to consider one measure on the calendar. On the agenda, it's H.R. 1417 by Representative Powell. I'm going to recognize the Vice Chair to speak to the substitute.
Oh, I think I just turned me off. Okay. Check. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I know there's not a lot of people in the room right now, but I think we'd all be remiss if we didn't recognize that this is actually the last Judiciary Non-Civil hearing.
We hope.
Chairman Golick, unless something crazy happens next week, this is Chairman Golick's last hearing that he'll preside over. So I don't know whether we should be happy or cry or what, but both. But now Gravely's standing up, so I don't know what that.
Thank you, Mr. Grafley. I don't want you to get emotional.
Yeah. But this is very significant. 9 years, is that right?
10 years.
10 years
actually,
as chairman of this committee, and so I know there's not a whole lot of people in the room right now, but I think that we're being streamed. We are. Mm-hmm. Okay, so somewhere this will be recorded in the history of our great state. But 10 years as chairman of this committee has overseen a tremendous amount of work in this area, and so thank you, Chairman Golick. We'll honor you at a later date in a more appropriate way, but this is your last hearing. So.
It is. Thank you, members of the committee, for your time and your service. You never achieve anything impactful on your own. The people who have served on this committee in years past and certainly present from both sides of the aisle are serious people who, while not taking themselves seriously, don't certainly take the work seriously, and I think that's exactly what the people have come to expect, and that's the work product that we've produced collaboratively in this committee, I think reflects that, and I salute all of you, and I will miss you.
Likewise.
All right, go before I get emotional. Go.
House Resolution 1417. We went back and there were the way this resolution originally appeared is there were a lot of whereas paragraphs that stated some things that I guess would arguably be fact, and so just to simplify this and not change any aspect of the makeup of the study committee and how the study committee will operate. Cleaned up's not the right word. We removed some of the whereas language just to simplify it and to take this resolution and bring it to a place where it's not controversial, because I think it doesn't need to be, and it still achieves the goal of if it passes, setting up a study committee to look at the cultivation of cannabis oil in the state. And so there was a lot of paragraphs that had some assumptions that not all of us agreed with, and so those were removed.
Thank you. Any questions for the chair or the vice chair on the resolution? Are there any questions? Ms. Silcox.
Yes, I just want to commend Vice Chairman Reeves for his work on this, particularly the lines 11 through 18, just because the safety of this, the labeling and all, I think is really important for consumer protection. And then I also really appreciate that it's going to be studied, because I think this is a very tedious issue, because it is a Schedule I drug still federally, as to who these licenses could potentially be given to is a difficult issue, and I think it's very appropriate we're going to study it.
Thank you. And it is ultimately a study committee resolution. Ms. Price, did you have something?
Yes, this one doesn't work. Is it going up? Yeah, I had prepared some responses to the previous resolution, which I guess is now not really under discussion, but there's a great deal of more recent information since the 1999 that was in the earlier version. Again, I know that the federal level, they are studying this, and there are a number of other places that are studying this, and I don't know that we've got enough information to form a study committee. I think at some point in the future it would be useful for Georgia to do that, but I don't think that there's enough information to pull together at this time. And if we do pass it, and if it does happen, I would just like to see that it's a balanced committee and that it's not formed primarily by advocates.
Thank you. Anything further? Over. Ms. Ballinger. Ms. Gonzalez, did you have something? No. Mr. Gravely, did you have something?
Yeah.
I see your light flashing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Vice Chairman Reeves. There was a lot of whereases. And getting to the nuts and bolts, the brass tacks of what we're trying to accomplish. We don't know who is going to be governor. There are a lot of candidates out there, some of whom have said that they would support it. In the event something like that were to happen and we had a governor who supports cultivation, I think it would be wise of us to have information ready and have a group that comprised of the members of this body and other folks outside of the members of this body readily available to give information that has been studied. And I would agree with my colleague, Representative Price, that in order for us to get a good balanced consensus, this needs to be a study committee that is comprised of both those who have concerns as well as those who are advocates, so that we can really sift through the weeds on this.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the committee? Ms. Ballinger moves due pass of H.R. 1417, LC 411585S, second by Ms. Silcox. Are there any amendments? Seeing none, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the gentlelady's motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Thank you very much, members. We're adjourned.